Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Objective Search 5603 and says, am I the arsehole for going home early on a family vacation after my mother-in-law constantly invaded my privacy? I, 38 male, am the solo breadwinner of this house. I have a wife, 35 female, and a daughter, 5 female. Me and my wife has been planning this family vacation to Venice for months. For context, my daughter is very little and she needs constant attention or she will get into trouble. Venice has always been my wife's idea of a romantic city. It's been her dream to go there. However, we can't just leave our daughter at home. We initially wanted to leave her at my mother-in-law's house, but she wanted to come with us, and my mother-in-law said that it was her dream to visit too. My wife was very supportive of this idea, but I was more reluctant. My wife planned everything, booked the hotels and the restaurants. However, to my dismay, she booked one room of 2 queens instead of 2 rooms with 2 kings. I planned for this to be a romantic getaway and did not want my daughter in the room with us. We could easily afford 2 rooms, but my wife wanted to keep an eye on her as well. To make matters worse, my mother-in-law was constantly in my space. She also had to share all of my wife's expensive products: face wash, shampoo, lotion, etc. My daughter likes to sit on our bed when me and my wife are gone to the city, and I come back to see that mother-in-law was sitting on our bed too. It is very unhygienic to me, and I don't like that she was sitting on the bed that me and my wife share, as I am a very private person. She also rummaged through our suitcase looking for a hair tie, and it really irked me that she did so without asking me. I don't like the thought of her looking through our stuff when we're gone, so I locked it. The final straw was when I woke up in the morning. I saw that mother-in-law has yet again forgotten something. For the last few days, she's been sharing the same toothpaste as me and my wife. I don't like the thought of her putting her toothbrush close to or even on the toothpaste nozzle, and I was ill the more I thought about it. I asked mother-in-law if the only reason she came was to freeload off me and my wife, as she didn't pay for any of the expenses: hotel, amenities, food, only her own plane tickets. I said that I've asked her politely several times to stop using my wife's stuff, especially because I share it with her, and it's very inappropriate. My mother-in-law was very upset and told my wife, and my wife screamed at me. I was very angry that the trip that I paid with my own money was now ruined, and I changed the date of my plane ticket and went straight home. My wife has called me several times afterwards, screaming at me and saying that our daughter is upset. I feel bad that our daughter was caught in the situation, but it was really not acceptable what my mother-in-law did, and I had to set some boundaries before it gets worse. My wife has her own card and enough money to stay there. I'm not sure about her plans about staying or not. I've been ignoring her calls to take some time for my own mental health. Edit, thank you to everyone that responded. I'm reading through each response carefully and I realized my mistakes. I'm taking tonight to write a sincere apology. I'll be calling my wife first thing in the morning tomorrow. Thank you again. I love her more than anything and I want to make amends. Opie added which was called their final update within the same post, so I'm going to cover that now, but there is more to this at the same time. They said, I just called my wife to deliver my sincere apology. I'm writing this with a heavy heart. She has blocked my number, and my mother-in-law informed me that she'll be looking into divorce proceedings. I've never thought about this happening, and I'm at a loss of what to do. I've failed our family, as a husband and as a father. I'm not angry at my wife for this decision, but I still cling to the hope that I can turn this around. I'm about to lose the love of my life over a stupid mistake that I made. I was not rational when I stormed off. She did not deserve any of my attitude. I'm praying at this moment that after some time off and I can change myself for the better, she will reconsider this divorce. I'm going to contact a therapist and marriage counseling after posting this. I feel myself spiraling, and I don't want to think how I ruined my life in the span of these 48 hours. Again, thank you to everyone that responded. I'll be logging off for a while I work through my thoughts. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do next. All I know is that I've lost the love of my life and I have no way to contact her. I don't know how I'm going to handle this. My world has just come crashing down. I'm sorry, Maria. The first commenter said to OP, you're the arsehole and not the arsehole. First off, definitely the arsehole for just leaving like that. You're a grown man that is married and has a kid. Talk things through. Don't just leave because you're upset. Now, you were justified in feeling that way. It seems like you and your wife should have talked about your mother-in-law joining you on this vacation. And also, if it bothers you that much, that you had to share a room, maybe next time be a little more involved in the planning of it so you aren't the one that isn't happy with how it was arranged. OP says, thank you. I appreciate your answer and I acknowledge that I was wrong for storming off like that. I definitely could have handled it better, especially with my wife. I do still believe that my mother-in-law was intruding on our privacy, so I should have made it clearer in the beginning. The other commenter says, wow, your wife books the wrong hotel room, so your solution is to abandon her on her dream vacation, forcing her to care for your high-maintenance kindergartner on her own. Couldn't you have booked a separate room for your mother-in-law instead of abandoning your wife and child? You're the arsehole. Opie says, thank you for your response. I definitely could have handled it better, but my temper got the better of me in the moment. On second thoughts, I could have booked another hotel room, but my judgment was clouded and didn't think of that, nor wanted to voice my concerns in the heat of the moment. It would have saved a lot of hassle. I'm taking some time for my mental health and I'll be making amends with my wife as I love her very much. The commenter replied to OP saying, I hope your wife accepts your amends. You might also be interested in learning about attachment styles and how that affects your relationships. He described a lot of avoidant behaviors. Personally, if a partner did that to me, I'd be seriously evaluating the relationship itself. Opie says, thank you. I'll be looking at what avoidant behaviors are because I don't want to do anything to hurt my wife's feelings, though I realize that I have done so. Do you think a sincere apology will work, or should I seek therapy for anger management? It wounds me deeply that I've hurt my wife's feelings. I never want that to happen again. Jerome4 says, you're the arsehole. Your complaints are that mother-in-law was using your wife's products, not your products, sharing toothpaste and sitting on a hotel bed, which more than you and your wife have used. All while she babysat for you so that you could have a romantic trip. Oh, and mother-in-law had to pay for her own plane tickets for the privilege. So in the end, you're talking about a few dollars worth of products, a few cents of toothpaste, some meals and 1/5 of a hotel room, but she was using you. And now you're ignoring your family after skipping the rest of the trip. I wouldn't expect to be married for much longer. Opie says, thanks for your response. It might have been how I was taught growing up. I have deep respect for personal space, and mother-in-law didn't ask me before going through our suitcase. It made me very uncomfortable, and the thought of her going through my clothes and potentially seeing my socks and underwear. However, I could have communicated it better or booked another room when we got there, as another user commented. I do love my wife very much and I hope to make amends with her. I think miscommunication was at the root of the problem, as I was seeing the trip more as romantic and she saw it more as a family trip. I will take time for my mental health and to organize my thoughts, and I will apologize to my wife. Jerome responds to that and says, what about your wife's mental health? You're ignoring her calls and left her in Europe with her mum and your mutual child. I will tell you as a wife and mother, this will be a deal breaker for me. As soon as the calls were being ignored, that would be it. You seem to enjoy playing games. Opie thanks him again and says, I admit, I wasn't taking the course because I was afraid of a reaction, as I realized I was in the wrong. My mental health recently has been very bad with the threat of being laid off. As I mentioned, we all rely on my income, and all the stress turned into a breaking point on this trip, which I'm wrong for. It was selfish of me not to take her course, but I have a history of anxiety, and I didn't want to spiral before I have thought through what I was going to say or apologize for. I'm going to write her a sincere apology and call her back in the morning. I plan on having an honest talk with her regarding boundaries and such with my mother-in-law. Opie then created another post which was titled Writing a Sincere Apology for My Wife and says, Hi, I screwed up big time. I'm not sure if this is allowed here, but I want to do anything I can to make amends. I screwed up by getting into an argument with my wife over something that I could have communicated better, and I want to write this in my apology. From her perspective, it might seem like I blew up out of nowhere. However, I've been very stressed lately with the threat of being laid off, and all of that exploded at the wrong moment during our argument. And I pushed all my negativity onto her, which I regret very much. I'm not a great writer, so I seek help. I want to make this as sincere as I can. I don't seek to make any excuses for myself. I messed up and I'm going to own it like a man. However, I want to explain and make things right so we can communicate clearly and not have anything like this happen again. I'm not sure what format I can write this in to be most clear and sincere I can be. Thank you to everyone in advance. And OP got a bit of a pasting in the comments on this one as well. Dazzling Square says, you left your wife and child in another country. There's no explaining or making it right. You abandoned your family in a fit of rage. Honestly, think about the steps you took changing flights, which cost extra money, going to the airport, going through security and customs, waiting for the plane, boarding, the flight time, 13 to 16 hours, landing, deboarding, grabbing luggage, going through customs again, and finally driving home. At any point before boarding, you could have turned around and had a mature conversation with your wife like an adult. Instead, acted like a child and are now blaming stress. Stress does not make you abandon your family in a foreign country. If the fear of being laid off is so great, why go on vacation to Italy? Tell Reddit honestly, if your wife did the same to you, left you and your daughter in a foreign country over something so small, would you forgive her? What could you possibly say that would make what you did right? If you want any chance, do not write an apology letter. Say it. Then ask her, what does she need from you to feel safe and loved again? And do it. One more comment from Scrolls who says, my man, you abandoned your family in a different fucking country. First, you went to Am I the Arsehole? More than likely thinking about how you're 100% right and how shitty your wife and mother-in-law were. Then you got dragged and come here and asked for help apologizing to a wife you abandoned in Italy with your kindergarten-aged child. Honestly, man, I can't wait to see the she's divorcing me update because that's exactly what you fucking deserve. Stress is no excuse when you ditch your own family in a different country. Gee whiz, but now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from tsim12345 who says, how do I, 31 female, tell my close friend, 35 female, that our adult-only parties are offending people? First of all, I would love a real adult-only party where adults can talk and have conversations without kids interfering. She ain't doing that. She's having a whole party for everyone to focus on her kids only. I need to know how to address this with her. This happened 2 times so far. The first time, we pretty much all assumed that she had to have planned for childcare and must have backed out or something. But since we weren't sure, we didn't ask her. I think everyone felt awkward believing they were paying babysitters for an adult night and then having to have her kids at the dinner table, and then very actively part of the evening needing to be entertained. 2 young kids. Then it happened again. She sent out invites for a dinner party in the evening with adults only on the invitation. Then, when we got there, she had set up all these kids' games everywhere. She arranged the night around everyone kind of playing with her kids, and I could tell everyone felt awkward because people just wanted to have an adult night talking. But she had promised the kids that everyone would participate in the games they had set up and asked everyone if they wouldn't mind playing with the kids. I know that several people who attended the last event were very bothered by having to do this. People were whispering on the side about how they had to pay a babysitter for the night and would rather bring their kid along, and the kids could have just played games together if it's a family event. We barely ever pay a sitter, so I was kind of confused about why I had to spend my very limited babysitter funds on a night that I didn't even get to talk much with other adults because the kids were for sure the center of the evening. She even stopped everyone to gather around to look at the kids' recent art projects and tell stories and sing. Is this normal in other circles? What would you do if this was your friend? If I do say something, how would you explain this so that the person isn't mad or feels like you just don't like their kid? She was mad because everyone left early, and she had catered the event, but I think people didn't want to stay and preferred to just go back to their kids because they felt a little disrespected by the way things went. People are saying they don't want to hang out with her anymore. I don't know what to do. Part of me is wondering, because lots of people left early, if she already knows about the situation. I would have certainly picked up on the hints in that. But quite frankly, I think she just needs to be told, or no one's going to want to go round there again. Which I know, for some people, not all, I'm sure people will call this out, but many people are conflict avoidant and they don't want to upset people, especially in a group setting like that. But there's only two choices to this. You can either communicate to her and let her know the issue here, or just not go in the future, which you may receive questions from her if she hasn't picked up on the reason. But Blippity says absolutely not normal. This isn't an adult-only party. This is a group babysitting gig where everyone paid for their own babysitter fees and she gets it for free. There's no way she doesn't know what she's doing unless she's really that deluded. OP responds to that saying, I can't explain like her entire personality, but I don't think she's actively manipulating because she's a very kind and considerate person in all other ways. It's like she truly isn't realizing that people are bothered. I don't know if it's because she thinks we all love her kids so much that we want to spend quality time with them without our own kids distracting us. We do love our kids, but I prefer to also bring my own kids so they can all play together. I thought she also loved my kid and would want them to be there to play as well. If that's not the case, then I guess the friendship would be over. Darwin says, just tell her you'll bring the kids next time to play with her kids. See her response. If she responds with, but it's an adult's party, then just call it out that it isn't with her kids there, wanting everyone to play with her kids. If she accepts it, then tell her to not call it an adult's party next time. OP responded saying this seems like a decent plan. I could say, hey, I'm going to bring my child to play too, and see her reaction. Maybe that would prompt her to at least explain her line of thinking. She is not a bad person. She seems unaware that this bothers people. She generally has been a good friend. So OP comes in with her update and says, hi everyone. I never expected so many people would have been interested in this situation, but it helps me feel vindicated that the situation was just as strange as I perceived it to be. I wanted to wait for the kids to get back into school so we could discuss it in person, and luckily I didn't even have to bring it up because someone else did bring it up to her, and she was eager to tell me that people were mad and she didn't know what the problem is with what she did. I was able to get through to her. I call her Katie in this post and also understand her perspective. Understand, not agree with, which I try to explain here the best I can. I cannot remember every detail of the conversation, but can paraphrase all the key parts. 1. She'd been upset because one of our friends, Molly, was taking care of her toddler while Katie's kid kept trying to show her something. Katie noticed this and felt bad that her daughter just wants to share things with people she thinks of as her family/aunts. We're just friends, but the kids call each other aunt and each other's kids cousins. So she wanted to build a stronger relationship between her kids and her close friends. She thought that us spending time with her kids away from our kids would be the way for us to show her kids better attention. This is especially important to her because she's an only child. Her parents are dead. Her husband is an only child and his parents are dead. Her children have no biological family. She's worried about what will happen to them if she died, etc. Her mum died when she was a teenager and she feels anxious about her health. 2. She doesn't feel that other people's kids need the same type of bond with her because our kids have biological aunts, uncles and cousins. She thinks they should be able to go spend time with their biological family and assume that we're all sending our kids to our family and not paying a babysitter. She has no understanding of what it's actually like and romanticizes it. She was shocked to find that my siblings don't just drop their lives to babysit my kid. People who have siblings still pay babysitters and did for her parties. 3. She feels that she paid for all the food and wine and that alone should cover the expense of the babysitter, even if we did pay one. She knows that paying a sitter plus dinner would still cost more, since she catered everything from a very expensive place. And we should have just been happy to get free food and drink. And if playing some kids game is the price for that, it's not a bad price. Essentially, she argued at first that if someone pays for everything, they can decide, and if we want a different type of gathering, we can foot the bill and throw that gathering. Now, how I handled this. The last note did eventually change to a more understanding perspective as I explained more and more about how, even though she is technically right, she cannot maintain strong friendships with this mindset. You cannot provide meals for people with strings attached and deception involved. We didn't know until we got there and expect us to love it. She can do whatever she likes, but people can also end the friendship if they like. So she is free to do it, but not free from the consequences of it. I was also very clear to her that if her goal is to get stronger bonds with her kids, the way to do that is to love and bond with our kids and include them. That part seemed to be totally unexpected to her. I had to explain that people will be so upset by the fact that she isn't including their kids in kid events or isn't accepting that a parent needs to take care of their own kid first before focusing on hers. And that won't even be a part of her family, because that isn't what a family is. My sister doesn't expect me to leave my kid behind and be only with my nephews. My sister would never tell me not to bring my daughter to a family event because she loves my daughter, and that makes me love her and my nephews even more. I had to explain all this. Lastly, she is rich and did grow up rich, and as the only child, she admits she struggles to see things from other perspectives or to consider others' feelings, and she has to make a conscious attempt to really outside of her own wants and needs. She said she even talks about this in therapy, and that's why she goes out of her way to do nice things for us. I put some examples of her acts of kindness in the original post, because that's a way of trying to actively be a generous and caring person. She did cry as expected, especially when she was talking about her kids not having any family and her mum and dad dying. And I'm very glad I did not mention it at the parties like everyone suggested, because I would never have wanted to do that to her in front of people. It goes deep, and she needs therapy to continue working on it. Overall, she did come around to the realization that she needs to alter her way of thinking about it and do things differently if she wants to achieve what she claims. She continued to reiterate how much her kids love me and how much she does love my kid too. She says she wants to do things the right way. She's just frustrated because what makes sense to her doesn't make sense to other people. But she accepts that it's her who will need to fix her way of thinking. A lot of crying and some arguing, but overall, it does appear that we are still friends. We hugged and she said she's going to do something nice for everyone and their kids. If anyone still has questions about specific things said, I can try to answer in the comments. Appreciate everyone's help. I felt much better going into it knowing that I was not wrong for standing my ground on this. And that's how that one ended. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Do you think this friendship will last? Some people saying, they can see it going both ways, that her behavior won't change, etc. What do you guys think? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.